Hello everybody, Sparkster1701 here. It's time for us to take a look at another GoBot, and we're kicking it off this month with the Renegade GoBot Spoons. Now, Spoons would be available in 1985. He would also be available in 1986 and would be discontinued that year when the line was taken out. Now, Spoons is one that made relatively few appearances in the cartoon, and more than likely just making it as a background character more than being of any actual use, due to the fact that his alternate mode really doesn't come off as one that's usable to a lot. But as you can see, he does look to be a pretty steady-looking robot. Rather tough-looking and blocky in the right ways. Now, of course, it should be known that there are two variants of him in Japan. The original toy was all orange. So, that makes an interesting contrast to this tannish chest that he was given in the American release. Plus, there is a later release that doesn't have the number 34 here on it, or the MR34 that you can see right there on his arms. That one was given away as a promotional toy at an event a few years ago. So as such, it's an interesting addition for anybody that can get one of them. Articulation-wise, Spoons pretty much has what you would expect out of a GoBot of his size. You can rotate his arms at the shoulder all the way around, and that's pretty much it. Now let's go ahead and convert Spoons into his alternate form. And of course, to do that, we start by grasping this lever on his back, pushing it down to lower his head, or you can always just push down on the head itself. You're going to rotate his arms into an I surrender pose, and then slide them down to his hips, and then press them inward. I'm going to hold him to the side here, because you're going to take this piece at his hip, and you're going to fold it upwards, like so. This orange patch on his chest gets folded up, like so. And then, of course, for his legs, I'm going to shift them outward at the hip, and then slide them up, like so. And then these metal parts at the front, you will fold down. And there we have it. Spoons is a forklift. Now, of course, I know many of you are going to wonder, why would I want to play with a toy forklift? Forklifts aren't fast. Forklifts aren't important vehicles. Why would I want to play with one as a toy? Or even more appropriately, why would a robot disguise himself as a forklift? Well, it's another thing that makes the GoBots a little more interesting than the Transformers, in the sense that GoBots did tend to become vehicles that were rather ordinary, or exclusive only to specific areas, as you wouldn't find a forklift in many places outside of a warehouse or other storage areas where it would be needed. And let's face it, even Grand Theft Auto, I believe there's only 2 games in the entire series where you do get to drive around in a forklift as part of the mission requirements. So I know forklifts aren't exactly exciting, But you do have to give him some credit for being something that's a little different. Plus, if he's in a warehouse where there's some contraband in there, he could probably find a way to sneak it out to benefit the Renegades. Now, of course, how well does he drive on his rubber tires? He drives pretty good. So he does have that going for him as well. In addition to that, for those of you who may be wondering, yes, you can raise the forks up that far, which would be about what you would expect in a normal forklift, about how high he can raise it up. Now all it's missing here for it to complete the look is a little tiny Burt Reynolds and Jerry Reed to go grabbing 400 cases of Coors. Now, while Spoons himself doesn't have any loose pieces, I will warn any of you that, as we mentioned earlier, the tires are made of rubber, and of course, as you can see, they can be carefully removed. So, if that's something that does bother you, you will want to keep an eye out for that. As you can probably imagine, finding good tires on one of these toys after 30 years is pretty difficult to do. But now we get down to my thoughts. What do I think of Spoons? I think Spoons is pretty much an underdog for the Renegades. He's not one of them that got the glamorous assignments or got featured a lot in the cartoon. And in ways, that was probably a loss. I mean, granted, yes, as we stated earlier, who would want to play with a toy forklift? Well, that's why I like the GoBots a little bit better than the Transformers. The GoBots did dare to come up with more unique alternate modes than the standard ones that we got all the time. Sure, they would be various ground vehicles, but they didn't always become sports cars or race cars or military vehicles. You got something else that, in a lot of ways, most people wouldn't pay any bit of attention to. As we've seen with the earlier reviews like Flytrap, who became a garbage truck. Tell me out there, how many of you really pay any sort of attention to your garbage truck? If it's not garbage day in your neighborhood, who's going to pay attention to a garbage truck? The same philosophy applies here to Spoons. If you're in an area where forklifts are common, who's going to pay attention to one? So how do you know that that one sitting nearby idling isn't really a robot in disguise, just waiting on you to leave so it can go steal some contraband? Okay, that's probably my imagination working a little overtime here, but it shouldn't be neglected or counted against Spoons for having an alternate mode that nobody would really consider playing with. As we've kind of seen in some other media, like, say, the live-action movie of Rampage, or, dare I say it, the video game Duke Nukem Forever, there are some clever uses for forklifts, if you're willing to use your imagination on it. So, I cite those as some extra reasons why Spoons shouldn't be discounted. All in all, Spoons here basically falls in the middle tier for toy collectability. He really doesn't have enough going for him to put him in the top tier, but I really can't hold things against him to put him in the bottom tier, because he's really just somebody different, and we shouldn't criticize him for being different. Anyway, that concludes my review of the Renegade GoBot Spoons. I hope you all enjoyed it. If you like this video, drop me a thumbs up here on YouTube. New to the channel, please hit the subscribe button down below to join our ranks. Don't forget to ring the bell so you'll be notified when I load new content. Also, please share this review with your friends and share your thoughts about spoons in the comments down below. This is Sparkster1701 saying I'll catch you all later.